What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today I'm doing my predictions for the men's open bodybuilding class at this year's Arnold Classic, so 2022. So, this is the competitor list for the show in Columbus, but I'm sure you've heard by now that some of the names on this list are not actually gonna be at the Arnold Classic. As unfortunate as that may be, it's true. So, just to reiterate that quickly, Rafael Brando is out of the show, so is Nathan Diasha, Cedric McMillan, Mohamed Shaban, and Akeem Williams. So at the beginning, there were 14 names in this lineup. Now there are probably only going to be 9 guys, but it's still a very strong lineup. And I think, especially this year, it's quite unpredictable, very hard to predict, especially this particular lineup. But that being said, obviously I am doing my predictions, so I have them prepared. And my last place finisher is gonna be Max Charles. I think he will finish last because all the names that I have ahead of him are just so amazing that I don't think it's possible for them to be beaten by Max Charles. But that being said, he has an amazing physique. As you can see on stage, he brings amazing conditioning, and especially his upper body, his arms look great. This is him at the Legion Sports Festival, and I think he looked quite good there. So I'm very excited to see what he can do in this Arnold Classic lineup, which is going to be very tough to deal with. A spot ahead of him, I have this guy. That's Fabio Gigarezende. Sorry if I said that incorrectly, but I am not very familiar with him. But he was at the Arnold Classic, and his physique looks quite great, I would say. He doesn't have that much muscle, I would say, especially compared to the other guys on this list who are just packed with muscle everywhere. So he can definitely improve, but he has nice shape to his physique, and he looks quite good with all the great conditioning that he has got, in fact. So I would predict him to place 8th in this lineup, and I'm very excited to see him compared to all the other guys because I have never seen him actually compete ever. And in 7th place, here's Samson Douda. It might seem a little bit low for such a nice and such a complete physique to be only 7th, but really it's a tough lineup. So maybe in the end you will actually figure out that you agree with me, because there is really no way that even the guy that places last is bad by any means. They are all great physiques. Samson has definitely got one of the smaller waistlines and one of the more aesthetic physiques in this lineup, but he doesn't have enough size, I would say, to be in the first call out. But maybe he can prove me wrong. It's really hard to tell, but my prediction would be a little bit towards that lower end of the lineup, even though he has a really eye-pleasing physique. One spot ahead of him, in 6th, I have Justin Rodriguez, and this also might seem a little low, but as I said, someone has to be placed in this position. I think Justin's physique is a little bit more imposing on stage, I would say. That's why I have him ahead of Samson. I think he packs a little bit more muscle. He's definitely a little thicker, a little more thickly built, even though he has more imbalances, and he's not as aesthetically pleasing. He's got the muscle in the right places anyways, and he places well at the Olympia and at the Arnold too, so I think he can do so this year as well. I have him in 6th place, and I think it's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. This is a great placing for this caliber of a show. Fifth, for me, Steve Kuklow. Again, some people have him higher than me, but I have some people ahead of him because I think Steve's biggest problem, I think we can agree on this, it's he doesn't have enough muscle separation, even though he's shredded and he has a lot of veiny conditioning, and he couldn't possibly get more conditioned, I would say. He still lacks a little bit of that separation in his back, in his midsection, in his lower body, I would say. You know what I'm talking about. So even though he's an absolutely massive bodybuilder, I don't think he will be able to beat some of the more complete and separated physiques. Such as, for instance, my fourth place finisher, and that's William Bonac. So his physique is definitely smaller because he's shorter than, for instance, Steve Kuklow, but he's very well established as a bodybuilder, and he's always in great condition. This is him at the Olympia, and that wasn't his best showing, but he still looked fairly good, if you ask me, and you can still see the condition is amazing. He hits the mandatory poses really well, and I think he's just sort of an established name, so the judges will not want to put him in towards that last place, for instance. But I'm not implying that he deserves to be in last place either. I have him in fourth place. I think he possibly might be top 3. On paper, he's definitely in that top 2 because he's an Arnold Classic champion. So let's see if he can win another title maybe, or at least get second or third. Now my third place finisher is Brett Wilken, and this might be a little bit too low for some people, but I think for other people they might think it's too high because Brett isn't an established bodybuilder like, for example, William Bonac is. He is a newcomer, but I think he has a bright future, and he had an amazing showing at the Chicago Pro last year, and he has improved so much already since that show from his physique updates. Judging from them, we can say that he has put on great size, and he nearly beat Hunter Brauda anyways with this package at Chicago, so it just remains to be seen how much he can do in this lineup, stacked up against some of the best in the world. I think he can definitely get to the Olympia next year, and I'm looking forward to seeing his physique, which is kind of more of that aesthetic size, even though he already has a great amount of mass. So I'm putting quite a lot of faith in him. I think it's the era of newcomers. And that sort of brings me to my second place finisher, whom I think none of you are probably expecting to be that high, but I have Regan Grimes in second. And I don't know why, but nobody seems to be talking about Regan coming into this Arnold Classic. I don't really understand it. I am not saying he will definitely place second. I put him here because I have faith in him and in the improvements that he has made, but it's also just as possible that he will finish like 7th, or he could really fall into a lot of different positions in this lineup. It's almost like most of these guys might be first and last, just depending on how they come into the show. But I decided to put Regan this high up because I think his physique will shine. It has a great amount of mass, but also he has great aesthetics. He's complete, and he's been making improvements too, if you ask me. He also has a brilliant future. So probably an unexpected second place finisher, but why not? I'm not saying my predictions will actually happen. This is just what I think. So, and first place, I don't think it's very necessary to introduce this dude. It's Brandon Curry. I think like 99% of this community right now have him winning the Arnold this year. He's an Arnold Classic champion. He's been in the top 2 at the Olympia for 3 years, and on paper he's definitely the winner. He has been making some improvements, it seems like, in his lower body, to his lower body especially, which is where he needs those improvements, because his upper body is quite easily winning the show, I would say. But especially with those improvements in the legs, I would say he can secure the win quite, not easily, but I think he will be the winner. I think that would be really surprising if he wasn't the winner of this show, because every single prediction list that I have seen up to this point basically has Brandon winning, while the rest of the placings are really arbitrary sometimes. He is definitely the winner for most people. Let's see if he can really pull it off realistically. I expect his conditioning to be quite good in this show. So that's it for my prediction list. Let me know down in the comment section below if you agree with my list, or you think that I really messed up on some of these placings, especially maybe, I would say, placing Regan too high. That might be what some people will think. So let me know what you think about that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some Arnold Classic videos, and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.